Hi, my name is Bismarck and welcome to Inside with Bismarck. Today we are going to discuss about some important topic and a very popular topic that has been a topic of discussion in recent times: paternity fraud. Before we start, I'll plead with you to subscribe to this channel, like the video and share the video to as many people as you can. Stay with me, don't go away, let's get started. I'm going to give you an interesting fact about paternity fraud, and DNA in general that probably you've never heard about. Before we set the ball rolling, what is paternity fraud? Paternity fraud occurs when a woman forcefully identifies a man as the father of her child. And this can happen intentionally or sometimes due to confusion about the paternity of a child. Various studies estimate the prevalence of paternity fraud to be between 1% and 30%. For instance, a study published in the Journal of Epidemiology and Community Health found a median prevalence rate of about 3.7% in population studied worldwide. This means that if you take about 100 men going to do paternity test, 1 to 30%, meaning 1 out of 100 to 30 out of 100 are being defrauded, meaning the children that the women claims to be their children are not their biological children. In the UK, data from the child support agencies suggested that around 20% of men who requested paternity tests were not the biological fathers of the children they are supporting. I think this is very clear. In the UK, about 20%, meaning if you take every 100 men going to do paternity test, 20 out of these 100 men have these children not being their biological children. So in other words, they are being defrauded. A study in the United States published in the American Journal of Human Genetics reported that about 1 in 25 fathers could be unknowingly raising a child that is not biologically theirs. Meaning if you take 25 men going to do paternity test, 1 out of these 25 men in the US are likely taking care of children that are not their children, but they have no idea until DNA test is done. This is very interesting. Financial impact in the US, according to the United States Census Bureau, the average child support payment is about $5,774 per year. Victims of paternity fraud may pay thousands of dollars annually for a child not biologically theirs, impacting their financial stability. In Canada, a study by the Alberta Justice Department found that 5% of disputed paternity tests confirmed that the man was not the biological father. That is in Canada, meaning that if you take 100 men going to do paternity test, 5 out of these 100 men had children not their own children. But there are some interesting facts that you need to also know. And I will tell you, in the United States, a man who had proven he was not a biological father was still obligated to pay child support because he had acted as the child's father for several years. I know a lot of people will say this is completely unfair. This is completely unfair, but you have no option but to follow the rule. Many US states have a statute of limitation for contesting paternity. For example, in Texas, a man has 4 years from the child's birth to challenge paternity, regardless of when he discovers the fraud. Meaning in Texas, a man has only 4 years to challenge the paternity of the child. Otherwise, you continue to take care of a child as your own child, even though the child is not biologically yours. And you know, discovering paternity fraud can be emotionally devastating for all parties involved. The presumed father, the child, and even the mother may experience significant emotional distress, especially when they come to realize that the child is not for the father. The father, together with the child and the mother, can be emotionally distressed. Men who are victims of paternity fraud often face legal challenges. In many cases, they may still be required to pay child support even after providing they are not the biological father of these children, but they are supposed to pay child support, especially when they are challenged legally by these mothers. And discovering paternity fraud can be emotionally devastating for all parties involved. The presumed father, the child, and even the mother may experience significant emotional distress, especially when they come to realize that the child is not for the father. The father, together with the child and the mother, can be emotionally distressed. Men who are victims of paternity fraud often face legal challenges. In many cases, they may still be required to pay child support even after providing they are not the biological father of these children, but they are supposed to pay child support, especially when they are challenged legally by these mothers. Some legal systems have time limits for challenging paternity. If a man doesn't contest paternity within a certain period, he may lose the right to contest the paternity of this child, meaning you have a set time period that you can challenge for the paternity of these children. And if this time passes, that means that you have no chance to contest. You have no chance to challenge if maybe you think that the children or the child is not your child. Once the time passed, then you lose the grace period, but you continue to pay the child support and take care of the child that is not yours. I know a lot of people will say that's not fair, but that's the law. And of course, obviously, it can have a very negative effect on the stability of the child, on the stability of the father, especially financial consequences, financial instability, especially when the father is supposed to pay and cater for a child that is not biologically his. It can have a very detrimental effect on the financial stability of such fathers. Some people ask, what about the consequences on the child? Does it have any consequence on the child? Of course, yes. From the child's perspective, paternity fraud can affect the child's sense of identity and emotional well-being, particularly if they discover later in life that the man they believe to be their father is not biologically related to them. In such cases, it has a very great sense of identity problem for the child. People argue that every child that is born in the hospital should have a DNA test done on such child. But there are other people who also argue that ethically it's not correct to have a DNA test done on every child just to make sure there's no paternity problem, due to the fact that in recent times it has been a popular topic in our society, and so a lot of men are going through a lot. Sometimes women do that intentionally. For example, when they find out that the man is very rich and capable of taking care of their children, and sometimes too it may not be intentional, but it may be a little bit of confusion, especially when the woman has different lovers who were involved in making of the child. In such cases, there are a whole paternity problem surrounding who the father is and whose child is this and whose child is that. In a more serious note, sometimes it can lead to death, be it murder or other forms. If you love this topic, if you love this content, subscribe to our channel, like our video, and share this video to as many people as you can. We do this to educate ourselves and also be aware of societal problems that probably we have not really paid attention to. Until then, I will see you